I'm a massive fan of the Star Wars universe, and I've always loved the games produced in it. I remember playing Knights of the Old Republic when it came out all the way back in 2003, and the original Battlefront in 2004. So when I saw the premiere trailer for Star Wars Outlaws last year, I was all for it. An open world Star Wars game that focused on the seedy underbelly of the cartels and the syndicates across multiple worlds. Sign me up. And now, while I've had the time to play it and complete it, it has left me in a deflated and way less hyped state. Slowly over the course of my time playing, the game raises multiple issues to me that I have about how games are made today and the overall nature of the industry. What are these issues? Let me explain. First of all, what is Star Wars Outlaws? Outlaws is an open-world action-adventure game set in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, with the player taking on the role of Kay Vess, a scoundrel trying to find her place within the criminal underworld. You must work with or against various factions you encounter across your journey to build a crew to lead a heist for the biggest score of your life, taking place on multiple planets we've seen before in various Star Wars media. The focus of the gameplay revolves around tackling a variety of jobs provided by underworld brokers in order to increase or decrease your standing with the factions, unlock benefits, or face challenges, and primarily using stealth to infiltrate your way into certain locations. From stealing data from a terminal to smuggling goods to another location, you can mostly choose how you want to handle each job. Each planet has a decently sized area for you to explore and find locations that contain treasure and other trinkets, and the game allows you to essentially ditch the main mission and freely explore these zones. You will have to complete the story at certain points to progress, or unlock technology that allows you to explore easier, but for the most part, the game doesn't put you on a leash. Now, while all this sounds good, and the kind of game that I like, the more I played, the more I almost began to hate it. Let's first talk about the thing that started to annoy me from a very early point in the game: the writing. Now, the way the game starts out is okay. It gets you involved with learning the mechanics and putting you in the flow of the main storyline, with you getting your bounty on your head after a failed attempt at robbing the main antagonist of the game, Sliro. After stealing his ship, you then crash land on your first planet, Tashara, where you are immediately attacked by this character, Waka. After defeating the pirates who are trying to kill him for some reason, Kay just trusts him because he says he's a mechanic who can fix your ship, so you just leave him with it and head on over to the main city in the area.
Who are you, and what do you want?
Okay, you're mad about the pipe. I didn't think anyone survived the crash, but you did, so now I'll help you.
I don't need help. I'm getting out of here.
How? You're an off-worlder, and this ship of yours isn't gonna fly anytime soon. But lucky for you, I'm a mechanic.
How many credits are we talking?
I mean, a few, mostly for parts. But good news, Tashara is a great place for someone with your skills. There's a pike underboss named Gorak. Talk to him.
And he'll give me work. Got it.
That speeder in your ship will get you to Mirgana City easy.
If my ship's gutted when I come back, I'm gonna hunt you down.
Waka. My name's Waka.
I'll hunt you down, Waka.
To me, this is some really lax writing going on. Why on earth would Kay trust a guy who tried to bash her skull in with her stolen ship? This character is meant to be a variant of Han Solo, someone who doesn't trust easy, knows her way around the underworld, but she's written so naively for the game. She doesn't really improve until the last few missions, and it's not just her dialogue, it's almost all the dialogue in the game. There are numerous occasions where I had to pause after hearing some stuff written for her because it was so bad.
Hey there, I'm Kay Vess. You, must be the Ashiga cartel, right?
We are a clan. Your ship is an EML 850, designation Trailblazer, a smuggling vessel in our records.
Oh, you've heard of it. Well, I'm just looking for someone. Her name's Ank.
What is your business with Ank?
She owes me money. Like, a lot. I'm here to collect.
You are a liar. You are working with Crimson Dawn.
What? No, I mean, if I was with the Dawn, you'd think I'd just show up on your landing pad?
Ship scan complete. Nothing of interest.
Guess that means I'm free to go, right? I mean, sounds like you've got Crimson Dawn spies to find.
You are clear to go, but do not lie to us again.
Oh, yeah, I won't. Honest.
The main plot is also riddled with so many cliches and obvious turns that it's not really engaging a lot of the time. Spoilers ahead if you truly care. Take this character Waka for example. He helps us repair our ship and points us in the right direction for the parts we need, and then the last area we go to, we get these strange calls with him leading up to the final point in this Republic-era ship.
Waka, I think I'm almost there.
That's great.
Yeah. You okay?
Huh? Oh, yeah, just fixing the Trailblazer. Hurry it up, okay?
This looks like a nav computer.
Don't be mad, Kay. I mean, I knew what she needed. I know what she's been through. I'm the one who fixed her.
You're gonna kill me for a
No.
ship?
For the Trailblazer. Zarek Besh wanted you alive, but I can't afford any loose ends.
I mean, who saw that coming, right? Literally anyone with a brain? This is such lazy and simple writing that anyone could predict how this story was going to go. Another character whose story and actions we can predict is the guy who presents us with the heist idea, Jalen Vrax. This is another guy who Kay very quickly just decides to trust. Granted, he does have his commando droid poised to kill us should we stray from the mission, but she just kind of accepts it that he just wants to pull off this heist to get rich and wants her of all people to help him do it, alongside the crew we need to find. But honestly, if you are again a person with a brain, you can see a double cross from a mile away. It also begins to unravel as soon as you work out some key bits of information. Early in the game, the main antagonist Slero divulges that his family built ships on Corellia, and then later, while talking to Jalen, he also says his family built ships on Corellia. And then you think, wait a minute, these dudes kind of dress and look similar. What a coincidence! Yeah, I can already tell where this is going. Much later on, after we assembled our crew, we pull off the heist and we loot what we think is 150 million credits, only to find out it's not money, but all the incriminating evidence that Jalen uses to take control of his brother's operation, the main antagonist Slero and the Imperial Security Bureau. Shock, horror. Jalen has double-crossed us, and Slero is indeed his brother. Who could have seen that coming? Honestly, the story is nothing original. It doesn't lay up any cool twists or clever writing. Everything that happens in this story I could call from a mile away, and they've just written Kay as a borderline moron. She trusts everyone almost unwaveringly and is so gullible. She's meant to be this Han Solo type character, but she has zero charisma or survival instinct. Almost all of her dialogue is so clumsy and it's painful to listen to. I don't think there are really any interesting moments in the story related to any of the characters, apart from a side story with ND5, our droid companion. ND5 is a commando droid from the Clone Wars and is probably the best character in the game, other than Nix, of course, our companion. Just look at this guy. A certain side story mission appears once you get further in the game, where you scan for a signal and eventually track it to a hidden location on one of the planets in-game. Once you land, you discover another commando droid in a state of almost death, and it's unaware the Clone Wars have ended. After this interaction, we help the droid by finding the holdouts of its unit and collect the recon data they are ready to transmit back to CIS. When we present the data to the droid, the uplink fails due to the satellite being jammed. We head off into space, destroy the jammers placed by pirates, and complete the upload. We then land and have this moment with ND5 and the other droid.
Thank you, Lieutenant Vess. Unit MT7. I'm Commander ND5 of the CIS Droid Army.
Commander, I cannot stand at attention.
No need. Your mission was a success. The signal went through. General Grievous sent me to pass on his commendations, personally.
I see. May I speak freely, sir?
Go ahead.
I am broken.
Yes. You've been in the field a long time.
Will you take my decoder module to keep it from the enemy?
I will. MT7. I order you to stand down.
Thank you, sir.
Lieutenant Vess. I could get used to that.
You wouldn't last 5 minutes in my unit.
While this moment is cool, and we learn a lot about the Clone Wars and ND5's past, it still leaves me with questions. Like, why were the pirates jamming an old separatist satellite? It's probably the best crafted side story in the game, but it still feels slightly lacking in details and backstory. And I think that's the biggest issue with the game's story. It lacks details or conviction from the characters we meet. Everything feels so surface level, there's nothing to go deeper on. Everything feels rushed for the sake of gameplay, but I end up getting frustrated because there are so many more questions I have about characters, factions, and locations I come across. Nothing is truly explained or explored, and it does my head in. Hey, if you're enjoying this content and want to see more, don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit like, it really helps me out. Moving on to the next problem with the game, which is the gameplay itself. Outlaws is an action-adventure title that focuses on stealth, infiltration, and the occasional gunfight. The problem with this, however, is that it simply just gets boring after the 5th infiltration mission you do. The mechanics don't really change other than some changing enemies, the faction, or the layout. Sneak into a base either by swinging in or crawling through a vent, smack some enemies on the head with the same 5 animations, even the stormtroopers. Hack into a terminal by playing what I call Star Wars Wordle, where you have to match the symbols in the right order, play a pick-locking rhythm game to access a chest of materials, and then leave the same way you came in. It genuinely doesn't change throughout the game, and it doesn't matter what mission you're doing. It could be something for the main story, something for a side quest, or even just open world exploring, just trying to get specific materials. Even the gunplay isn't anything that special, it's just a generic cover shooter, except you can barely change your weapon. Your main pistol is the only gun you can upgrade and add variations to, such as rapid shot, stun mode, or an explosive shot, but you can't keep any rifles or any slightly larger guns, as these all have limited ammo, and if you climb a ladder or jump over something, you instantly drop it, which is infuriating. Why not give the player an option to keep one long gun and their sidearm, just to add some slight variation to these shootouts? The only thing you can do to flare up combat is the adrenaline mode, where you high noon up to 3 enemies. So the general gunplay and stealth is pretty dull after a while. What about the factions you can interact with? Well, there are 4 total factions that you encounter throughout your time in Outlaws. The Pikes, Crimson Dawn, the Hutts, and the Ashiga clan. Now, what I thought would be the case with these factions and their reputation system would be that you could play each one for certain overt benefits, and if you worked against them, it would play into the overall story somehow. In reality, the factions are genuinely only there to provide you with what feels like procedurally generated side quests for cash and materials, and that's it. The quests are pretty dull. Most of the time it involves sneaking into an area, hacking a terminal, and then leaving without getting caught, or smuggling an item to another location and fighting a wave of enemies. And the only rewards you really get from getting friendly with any of the factions is outfits and skins for your gun, along with some credits. Nothing else. The only thing that did change was at the very end of the game, where you had to escape an Imperial fleet, so you put out a distress signal for anyone to help. I had the Ashiga clan reputation at max, so they arrived to help me take out the Imperial cruiser, and that was it. It felt like there could have been so much more to the reputation systems than just that. In fact, that goes for almost all the mechanics and gameplay really. It's wide, but incredibly shallow in what you could actually do, and the gameplay loop just ends up getting really repetitive. I would have loved a system where you could gain rep with the Rebels or Imperials alongside the Syndicates, as they're in the game, but only play into the main story at rare intervals. The exploration is interesting at times, but more often than not, it again follows the same tropes repeatedly. Parkour around this area, find some loot, and then leave. And all the parkour is again identical. Climbing specific rocky walls, grappling onto trees, and holding onto moving boxes. Much like everything else so far, it gets dull after a short time. The ship gameplay is no better really. It's only flying around a small area in space, shooting loot boxes and auto-targeting onto enemies and holding down the fire button. If it was up to me, I think the entire ship system should have been scrapped to improve the on-foot exploration and gameplay. It really doesn't add anything fun to the game. Star Wars Outlaws was genuinely something I was interested in. A Star Wars game focused on the syndicates and the crime of the galaxy, the seedy underbelly in this iconic setting. But instead we get this really limp-wristed attempt at showcasing it. The story and characters are so poorly written, it's both incredibly predictable and frustratingly dull throughout. The gameplay gets exceedingly boring after a short amount of time and offers no real variation on its loop. It feels like I'm only crafting and applying updates because the story requires it, not because it really changes up up my playstyle. The outfits offer minimal bonuses if you get a specific set, they're more of a cosmetic than anything beneficial. Ship gameplay is unnecessary, and for this absolutely incredible experience you can pay either £60 for the base edition, £95 for the gold edition, and £115 for the ultimate edition. And for that £95 you get the game and a season pass. God forbid you want to keep playing this game after you finish it, or you can pay an extra £20 to get some skin bundles and the art book. Wow, I mean £115 you say? What a bargain. The price structure is one of the biggest things that's wrong with the industry right now. I mean, already the £60 base price is way too much for what I got, but charging £115 for a load of extra crap and the initial 3 days early access is outrageous. Call me old, but I remember when I bought an ultimate edition of a game, it used to come with the game, in-game content, physical collectibles, and maybe even a statue. But now that everything is digital, you get so much less for nearly the same price. Oh, and the added cherry on top with this quadruple A experience from Ubisoft is that, as they stated, you don't even get to own your games when you buy them from their store. So if they wanted to, they could pull this game right from your library down the line should they want to. I didn't pay full price for this game. I went the other route, a route which I also hate is becoming a standard of the industry, the subscription service. I paid £15 for 1 month of Ubisoft Plus, so I could complete this game and then cancel the service. It's not like it matters, I don't own it, right? But I seriously hate that games as a service is becoming increasingly common, as I don't want to have to pay each month to access a game I want to play. I'd rather have to pay a one-off fee and then have it in an offline library. I know, what a crazy idea. The only reason I use these services is genuinely as a trial or demo service. I pay for 1 month, when something new comes out and I try it, if I'm into it, I'll pay for it and cancel the sub. But seriously, Star Wars Outlaws has somewhat embodied everything I hate with the industry right now. It's becoming so lazy and nobody wants to innovate or make something new. Its sloppy writing, shallow mechanics, and terrible price structure makes it such an awful experience. I know games are costing more and more now, and players expect more, which is the reason why big developers are so afraid of doing something completely different. But at some point, it's gotta be worth the risk, especially with Ubisoft going down the pan, hoping that their next Assassin's Creed game will float them. So to round off this video, don't bother with Star Wars Outlaws, unless it's on a heavy sale, which it probably will be come Christmas. But even better, let's all just stop bothering with the complete sludge Ubisoft is making and find someone more worth our time. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. Leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of the game, and if there's anything you want me to take a look at next, I'd love to hear your suggestions. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.